So you're here to learn how you guys can use the Sui Hero Lavaloon attack at Town Hall 11. Well, this guide has got you covered. Now, there's a lot of different things to talk about from this, specifically when and where to use your Sui Hero, how you guys can use your Sui Hero, whether this be with some wall breakers or, just using the Sui Hero to get value and dealing with the queen with some skelly spells, the number of skelly spells that you may want to bring, and also how you guys can deal with the enemy CC. So those are all really, really good questions with this. And obviously, we're going to talk about the Lavaloon portion as well, if I did not mention that already. Now, with this attack, with the Sui Hero, especially when you're trying to look for value, you're looking for small pieces of value. So this may or may not include a air defense. However, you don't always have to get air defenses. You can still actually have all 4 air defenses and still triple the base. Why? Specifically, you're bringing 3 lava hounds and a stone slammer. That's almost like 4 lava hounds there. And you're bringing a lot of loons, especially if the stone slammer has loons. So you really got to make sure that you sort of take this into account. Another thing that you gotta really keep in mind is, why would you not queen charge the base? Specifically on this base design here, it was a little bit too risky since the air sweepers was pointing this way. So that gives us a good opportunity to just Sui Hero here, set the funnel here, use a test wall breaker and the wall breakers here along with some free spells to keep the multi-inferno from actually targeting onto the wall breakers, and then also using it to help the queen, but then getting rid of the other pieces of value that you really want to try and look for, which is obviously going to be the CC and queen. Anything else is really going to be good for you to get. Another thing is you're creating a nice little area in the base so that then the Lavaloon portion will still be able to get through it really nicely. Now, in terms of this, how are we going to use the wall breakers and how are we going to try and get them in? So specifically, as I said previously, setting the funnel is a huge part of this attack. You want to funnel your queen in so that then she isn't going to just be staying on the outside and not going into where the wall breakers are. So that's the idea of this attack, is you want to try and make sure to have the wall breakers break that queen in, and maybe using a rage if you need to get that queen right through, because she can definitely benefit from a rage spell, even if she doesn't have healers. So that's a good sign from this. Dealing with the enemy CC is also not too difficult. Remember that you really want to try and poison the enemy CC, whether it be a damage CC or a tank CC. Another thing that before we actually go in with the Lavaloon portion, something to really keep in mind so that then you guys can see it also on screen is the number of loons that you guys are going to need per defense at Town Hall 11. I do this a lot at Town Hall 10, so this is definitely something that shouldn't really be too new to you. This is 100% a really, really easy way of understanding it. The only addition to this is going to be that eagle, knowing exactly how many loons it needs to be taken out in one shot. But these are the number of loons that in order you're going to need to take out different defenses in one shot. So that's sort of the idea. That's something that you guys need to kind of put into memory in some way. You don't have to entirely memorize it because no one can. However, just remember that in the start going into the base, there's going to be a lot of different things. So the 7 loons that you're going to need in order to take out the eagle is going to happen way later, which means you could have more than just 7 loons to take it out. So realistically, think about that when you guys are using this attack. But then also remember, you are bringing that Grand Warden in, and the Grand Warden's ability should be used to protect all the loons as much as necessary. Specifically, dealing with the eagle and stuff like that, especially if you're flying in away from the eagle. So you mainly want to try and use the hastes and also the Grand Warden's ability in order to keep all those loons protected, the rages whenever, and also the heal spells specifically when the loons get towards the back end, in which they need it the most. They definitely need it the most when they are on the back end of the base. Since specifically with this attack, it's that the loons need enough boost to get through the back side of the base. So this is a very, very important thing that you guys need to really sort of take interest in. So this is definitely what I would say is a very strong strategy, and this is using no skelly spells. So this is definitely a great base to hit a Sui Lalo with. Now, if you're still confused on exactly how you guys knowing when to use it, well, in the next replay we have here for you guys, where we're going to explain exactly why it was also chosen on that one with the skelly spells this time. Now, you already notice on this base design here is that the queen is in the center. Unlike the last one where she was a little bit more offset, you can definitely tell that specifically that queen is 100% towards the core of the base. So in terms of this, how are we going to deal with that queen, and also how are we going to deal with the CC? Well, in this case, the CC was actually a hound CC with just a few archers, really not too big to deal with. But the other thing is if we take a look at this, we're again using wall breakers to actually get to the air defense, so that then we can actually get a little bit more value from that. Sometimes you will struggle on 4 air defenses depending on how they're placed. So it's really, really important to think about different ways of doing your Lavaloon. So that means that you may have to get an air defense or maybe even get none. So it's really going to be up to you and, how the AI works. But specifically with this base design is getting rid of this air defense right here allows us then to basically just send in the loons from here, maybe even the stone slimer instead, and then have the Lavaloon portion going in around this way. Now, you may be asking as well, how are we going to deal with the CC? Or, I'm sorry, deal with the queen? Well, you really want to try and use the skelly spell. The skelly spell's job is going to be able to take out that queen under the rage specifically being used for that. If we also take a look at around this queen, we notice that there is no splash near her, meaning that there's no multi-infernos near her, there's no nothing in this area right here, meaning that we can easily use at least one skelly spell to take her out. That is gonna be the focus with this. Now, you also may notice on this base design as well, just as a little thing, you may already notice this compartment right here. Don't worry about it. Even though it did get reverted back to the original change with the decoration glitch, that will no longer happen, meaning that obviously the change to it will happen after 6 days prior to this recording, after the World Championships. So after that, the entire decoration glitch will be reverted back to the original, meaning that it will, from the update, meaning that it will actually not block the queen, so it will be much easier to get value, especially if you see that. Now, in terms of this, again, dealing with the enemy CC and enemy queen, you can see that the enemy CC was just hounds and archers. And you can also see from that side is that we got a good amount of value, and we start off with the stone slammer. So if you notice that there are no air defenses there, it just wouldn't be a smart move to just use a bunch of loons in that area without a hound. It's just going to look really awkward. So instead, using the stone slammer there is actually an even better job for that. And dealing with everything going in, making sure that you have the queen distracted. So that means having that queen staying in one area, using the skellies, and also maybe even using or just even having the lava pups. You can see from there that you can definitely tell that the skellies were definitely accumulating from there, along with the fact of having the lava pups also. Having the heal spell readily available for the loons as they move through different defenses, and even if you still have a lava hound, that is huge value there, because especially if it pops. If it doesn't pop, it's fine, but if you can get it to pop and then the hound or the loons tank for everything else, that's really, really going to help you with the cleanup. So that gives you guys a solid example of just using one skelly spell, and you notice from this base design here, he didn't use all the free spell, he didn't use all the haste spells. So that is a good example of how you guys can really take advantage of these style of bases, having that queen in the center, meaning using at least one skelly spell. And if you decide to bring a second skelly spell, it's completely fine. You can just swag it if you don't use it. but it's really going to be up to you in terms of, how you guys want to deploy your attack. So let's go ahead and take a look at one last example, bringing in another skelly spell. So with this base design here, this gives you guys a solid example of specifically how you guys can deal with the CC and just dealing with different base designs upon itself. Now with this, you are going to be seeing that the CC is going to be a dragon CC. So this gives you guys a good example of how you guys can deal with the damage CC. This is possibly the best way to deal with a damage CC or even a CC in general, because specifically having the queen and the king enter into here to get rid of as much value as possible, including wizard towers, archer towers, infernos, air defenses, those are really, really going to help. Now, if we take a look at the base design, specifically, if we can get rid of this area here, we can then Lavaloon this way or even the opposite direction and get rid of that queen with the skelly spell. We also have two rage spells, so one specifically is going to be used with the Lavaloon and another may be used for the skellies, so that's going to really depend, but specifically, that is what you're sort of trying to think about. Another thing that we also want to consider is where are the splash buildings compared to the queen? And that is what we need to take out first. So the wizard tower there that you see, we will need to take that out before we start our skelly spell, so that then we can actually clear away any of the splash, so that then the queen won't have anything to protect her from that other than the king. Sometimes you may see the king placed, and that is really going to hinder you actually trying to use a skelly spell. Since all the skellies will actually move, some will move to the queen, some will move to the king, and it gets really, really bad. And that's something that you guys want to try and avoid. So specifically, try to look at for bases where the king and queen are not together in the base to use a skelly, unless you actually take out the king first. So then, there you go. But specifically, as you start to move into the base, wall breakers are a great option. Bringing in giants is also not a bad option as well. Having them tank. You can use one rage in terms of the queen, so that then she can take out defenses a little bit quicker and do a little bit more damage. Making sure that you also poison the enemy CC is really important. You notice that from the other one, there wasn't a poison being used just because there was a hound CC. But as you're starting to move into the base, you really want to try and make sure that you can really have that Lavaloon really nicely. So that means specifically having that Grand Warden go in with a few groups and then having two Lava Hounds going into the same. You notice that in this example, actually, I believe there were only two Lava Hounds here in terms of this attack. Another thing is, notice that the queen moved all the way over to where the hound was, making it the skelly spells were almost just not usable. However, the attacker got lucky here, and it was because the queen stood underneath a defense, and that is sometimes really going to happen where you guys are going to get lucky, and the queen will get taken out, thankfully, by the loons just going over and taking out the the defense, meaning that the queen was standing underneath it and getting taken out. So obviously you really want to be patient with your skelly spell. Just like that, you never know what's going to happen. Whether it's going to be a skelly spell that, gets that queen right like in the other ones, or, in the other example, it just doesn't turn out well. So realistically, that's something that you guys have to think about when you guys are using the Sui Lalo. So that, guys, is going to do it for this video. If you guys did enjoy, let me know in the comments below if you guys want to see another Sui Hero Lavaloon guide, and I'll bring it to you guys. Also, feel free to join the Elite Academy Discord server. If you guys are feeling like joining their clan or clan family, then feel free to join it. Also, feel free to subscribe, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell if you guys are new, so that then you guys can not miss any of my content. Also, feel free to join my community Discord and follow me on Twitter at CorruptYT. And that, guys, is going to do it, guys, for the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you guys next time. Corrupt, signing out.